Okay, so I'm going to be taking a look at a clip today from a channel. It's actually a smaller conservative channel called the Western Journal, and he's talking about the rising star in the Democratic Party, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, I haven't really touched on Miss Cortez yet, um, so this is actually going to be my first time weighing in on her, but let's see what he has to say, and then we'll respond.
In late June, Democratic Socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won the Democratic primary in New York. When she won, she instantly became a celebrity and was known as the Democrats' rising star. Well, up until now, she's been interviewed by Stephen Colbert, MSNBC, and other left-wing news outlets. As you can probably guess, those were far from hard-hitting interviews. However, a recent interview on the PBS show Firing Line truly exposed some deep-seated flaws in the socialist superstar. Ocasio-Cortez was asked about Israel. In particular, the question was about the May clashes at the Israeli border with Gaza, which Ocasio-Cortez has described as a massacre. Firing Line's Hoover noted that the geopolitics of a Palestinian protest are a good deal different from a peaceful demonstration in the United States by people, quote, expressing their First Amendment right to protest. It seemed that for the first time, Ocasio-Cortez was at a loss for words. Just watch.
Of course, the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment right to protest.
Well, yes, but I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition. And that, to me, is just where I tend to come from on this issue.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
Do you think you can expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
I'm not an expert on geopolitics. Interesting. Back in June, after she won the Democrat primary, The Independent ran an article which gave some background information on the socialist. They wrote, in 2011, she graduated from Boston University with a degree in economics and international relations. International relations. But don't ask her about international relations. She's not an expert.
Take a chair and ram it.
Right. So she's not an experienced, polished politician where you have these responses to these questions memorized. Responses have been through focus groups and they've batted it around and your committee looks at your responses. Okay, this is your standard response to this question. Kind of like Hillary Clinton. If you remember back when she was debating Donald Trump and her answers just rattled off like something that, came out of an encyclopedia page. Everything politically correct, non-offensive to anybody, rainbows and puppy dogs and everybody's happy. Like IBM's Watson answering a question, just no humanity in there whatsoever. Now, it's important to remember Ms. Cortez here is running for the House of Representatives. She's not running to be President of the United States. She's not running to be Vice President of the United States. She's running for a lowly House seat in New York. There are 535 members of Congress. And I guarantee you that not every single one of those is an expert on every issue top to bottom across the board. And you wouldn't really expect them to be. I mean, you see congressmen and congresswomen all the time saying things that sound silly because they're talking about areas that they're not experts on. They don't really understand it, but they're still talking about it. Yeah. But I guess that's just these silly Democrats. You never see a Republican, nominate somebody for a high office who, wasn't just as sharp as a tack and didn't know all these issues front to back, top to bottom, across the board. They would never do that. Well, wait.
You've cited Alaska's proximity to Russia as part of your foreign policy experience. What did you mean by that?
That Alaska has a very narrow maritime border between a foreign country, Russia, and on our other side, the land boundary that we have with Canada. It's funny that a comment like that was kind of made to, I don't know, reporters.
Mocked?
Yeah, mocked, I guess that's the word, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sometimes I pass out when I do a military after a bench.
This is like when I plateaued on my delts, man.
Seems like that education was money well spent. Listen, it's one thing to call Gaza a massacre, another to call Israel an occupier, and yet another to openly admit that you don't really know about these things. But to make matters worse, she just laughed it off as no big deal. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Democrats' rising star. This is their best. This is who they are calling the future of the Democrat Party. One thing's for sure. This won't be the last time she is going to be asked some tough questions. Maybe next time she'll come a little more prepared and hopefully we'll take it just a little more serious.
Hit the siren!
What you see right here is fear, almost a sheer terror, and he's trying to be portrayed as anything but the reality of the situation is this guy is afraid. And a lot of people in the mainstream political sphere are afraid. So yeah, for a long time, both parties have carried the water for the rich. The Republicans are more open about it. They'll tell you, yes, we're trying to help the rich, but we think it'll help everybody in the process. Whereas the Democrats have always had more populist sounding rhetoric, but the results are pretty similar for either party. So, people on the right, they're okay with the Hillary Clinton style Democrats because, yeah, they don't agree with all the rhetoric, but they know at the end of the day, not much is really going to change. It's 90% of the difference is rhetoric, semantics. Like Barack Obama, when he ran the first time, yeah, he talked a lot about single payer. And, of course, once he got into power, he's like, well, we can't do payer. Maybe a public option. I've already made a backroom deal that, we won't really fight that hard for it, but, that's the red meat I'm throwing to my base here. Well, I wanted a public option, but Max Baucus, the chairman of the Senate Finance and Banking Committee, he took it out, so oh well. Or like this representative in California who single-handedly shelved the single payer bill, the one they had been talking about for a long time over there, but Arnold Schwarzenegger kept vetoing. Now that they have a Democrat in the governor's mansion, should be easy. He's not going to veto this until their leadership decided, well, no. So it was only something when it wasn't really going to happen. Now that it could actually happen, no. But the base of the party is much closer to Ocasio-Cortez than it is the Hillary Clinton wing. The Hillary Clinton wing is fading fast, and what's coming up behind that is the Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders wing of the Democrat Party. So, the right wants to focus on, her foreign policy credentials. Look, she doesn't really fully understand Israel-Palestine. Oh my gosh. Hell's bells, what are we going to do? Because they do not want to talk about her economic message. They don't want to talk about Medicare for all. They don't want to talk about real changes to make Social Security a real retirement plan. They don't want to talk about how we're going to reform our economy in the future where we don't need millions of workers because every day more and more workers are being displaced by automation. 50 years from now, we're not going to need millions of workers. What are we going to do? How do we make that economy work? They don't really want to come out and say, yes, we want workers to compete with machines. So therefore, to maintain humans as a viable employment option, you're just going to have to keep accepting lower and lower amounts of pay until, it makes sense for the company to keep you instead of automating. So if that's, $2 or $3 an hour, then that's what you're going to have to accept, because otherwise they're just going to automate and you won't have any job, right? Now, this is only one election in one district in New York. So it's hard to, take that and make the case that this is going to be nationwide, tomorrow. But this is still a harbinger of what's to come. And the corporations, the corporate stranglehold on the political left in the United States is going to eventually lose its grip. And politicians that are corporate friendly, Dianne Feinstein's, Hillary Clinton's, they'll gradually become less and less viable. And politicians like Ocasio-Cortez will become more mainstream. Now, look, she doesn't have all her positions nailed down yet, but she's only 28 years old. She's still very young, and she's not going to be running for high office anytime in the near future. She's not Bernie Sanders material yet. She doesn't, have all the policy experience that Bernie has, but, she's never been the governor of a state either and still didn't know, anything about anything. But don't worry, I will be there to help Miss Cortez along when she says something that is not very intelligent or not very well thought out. I will be there to help her. I will point her in the right direction. She can come to me anytime she wants. Well, I doubt that's going to happen, but I will still be putting videos out explaining things to her about what she says.